Hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I'm reaching out to all of you beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight will be after this, and I really hope you're getting out and enjoy the weather. Depending on where you are, it's got to be cooler than it used to be, depending on where in the world are you. So anyway, besides getting out is at this time of year, like I mentioned many times in my other videos, is to be mindful of how we treat people out in public or even our own family members. And on that note is to really be cautious of what you eat around this time. This is the time that, where we all can fall into this, especially if you're going out, to family for Christmas dinner. And everybody's cooking their favorite dishes and desserts and stuff like that, and food is just to be mindful how much you're putting on your plate and what are you really eating. Don't say a yes when it's a no to yourself. If you don't want to eat those particular foods that you're trying to break free from, be strong. You can do this. Is not to cave in because other people want you to eat their food that they made. So anyway, besides that, if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome, and you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give this video a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget, you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you could share my videos with your family, a friend. Let me see, deer and a bear. Ooh, a bear. So not only that, you can check out my playlist. Plus, you can also find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. So anyway, today I haven't talked about this topic in a while, and it's about communication. And this goes for everyone who communicates. Not everybody communicates. Starlight is a big, huge fan of communication, but I've made a couple videos before about communications, how to communicate to your children, how to communicate, in relationships. So this is going to be for, like any kind of relationship. So it is so important. I just got done watching a video, which is so important, is with communications sometimes, and it could be through talking on a phone, it could be through texting, it could be through, emails, or however you communicate with people. Because in today's world right now, and Starlight is definitely not a fan, the best way to communicate is in person, because that way, if something's not clear, you could say, you know what, I really don't, can you explain a little bit more on what you're talking about? That way, you got the person right there. And with that in mind is that body language. We're sending an email or a text message, you don't see emotions, you don't see expressions, you can't hear the tone of their voice. So really, in person is the best way to communicate if possible. And I know some of you might live far away from other people where you can't, that is not going to work. And some people out there, they might want to build more of a relationship with you before they give you their telephone number. So your only way might be through an email, or that's it. That might be the only way, is to talk to them through an email. So it is so important, no matter who you are or who you're talking to, is especially when you have something personal, and depending on the relationship, it could be a boss that you're communicating with, and it could be a friend, it could be a loved one, your husband and wife, it could be your children, it could be your mom or dad, grandpa, it could be a stranger, it could be a business kind of communication. But on that is, I have to say, like, if you're writing a letter, that way when you're writing a letter and you're like, whoops, you have to reread it, Starlight, reread your letter. And, make sure what you wrote is accurate, honest. Honesty is the best way to have any kind of, relationship with anybody, no matter who that is. So you want to make sure everything is clear when you're writing it out. And, so that takes more time. So you got to be really patient when it comes to this. And, so writing, you actually have more time to figure out and organize your thoughts as far as, compared to communicating in person, where in person, once it's out of your mouth, it's hard to bring it back in after they what did you just say? And also with sending letters or emailing or texting, you could, you might have a lot going on. Do you have a lot going on? Yeah, we all, we're always got a lot going on. So, and that's sometimes that happens when you've got a lot going on and you got a lot of this going on and that going on and who knows what else is going on. Sometimes it's hard to be really clear of what you want to communicate with that person, no matter who they are. So with this is so important not to be in a rush and make sure you have the proper time and space that you need and that you're in the right mindset when you are ready to communicate with somebody. And that, is through business, through, with a boss or something. Maybe you got to order something, you want to make sure you are clear about what you're discussing and, reread what you wrote so that way, you don't forget anything that you were supposed to say. And that, as far as communicating with people in person, is what is great about that is if you stumble on words like Starlight does, or, sometimes I get things in the wrong order, or I could actually forget some details and, say certain things, but then, I might have not been clear enough or had enough of what I was going to talk about in that message, with a person. So it is really important to be mindful of when you are writing or communicating in person. How is that going to affect that person? Maybe you want to affect them a certain way, and that is, where sometimes we really have to speak the truth when it hurts, in relationships, and that definitely happens many times. We just like this song is, I didn't promise you a rose garden. That means that, there's going to be rainy days, things are not always going to, be rosy in your life. And that goes with any kind of relationship. So with that note is that, so you got to be clear when you're writing and make sure that you're not by accident saying something that could cause that person to be hurt, where at least in person, if they didn't like what you said, you're right there and they can say, can you, I don't know what you mean by what you said, and you can communicate. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes, there's so much going on in communication where they might end up thinking about it later on, because this, I believe, happens to all of us after we communicate with people. It happens with Starlight, especially serious stuff, personal stuff with family or business, where, or like I said, loved ones, is that later on you could be thinking of all what you told them or wrote, and then you're like, oh no, like, now that I think about it, that did not sound like the way I really wanted that to come out. So if that happens, and when it does happen, is it's so good to, rethink of what you were thinking and why it didn't come out the way you wanted it to. And then, if you writing is the only way you can get communicate with that person, is to say, write and apologize. Say, I am sorry, I thought about what I wrote to you or said to you, and I realized I wasn't clear on really what I was talking about, and I kind of had some missing pieces to the puzzle here as far as communication goes, because that can really stir up a lot of problems in any kind of relationship. And you don't want to offend people by accident where they might think, what did they mean by this? So it's so important to make sure you're clear, and if you do, and it does happen, is to correct it. You can always, if you talk to them on the phone, and I'm guilty of this many times, is I will get a hold of people and say, well, and I might have thought I affected them really bad, where they might have known me well enough where it didn't affect them at all. I've had that before where I was like, oh no, I can't believe I didn't really have anything organized. I had a lot going. I didn't have a lot of time, to really get what I wanted to say to this person. And then later on, or even through the night, I'm like, oh my, that didn't really sound, the right way that I wanted to express myself. And now, I feel like I offended them by the way I worded things. So you really got to be mindful of what you're saying. And it's good to, like, especially if you're going to be, talking to people face to face, is especially if it's something important, personal, maybe there's something that's not going good in that relationship, and you really want to communicate and fix the problem before it gets worse, is even if you got to write it down, it doesn't matter, because if it's in, if you're going to communicate with them, so that way you don't forget. Sometimes it happens, like when I used to go to my doctor, sometimes I had all kinds of stuff going on all at once, and so by the time I get to, I get so nervous about going to the appointment, and waiting there to get, called, and then I could be thinking of other things throughout, the time waiting to get called to go into the exam room. And then, and then by the time I see my doctor, I'm like, why, I had like so many different things. And so writing things down really will help out. That way, you like, oh yeah, this is what I said earlier, and I want to just fix this problem before, it could be a little bump. And, if you don't communicate with them as soon as possible, that little bump is so important. It's so important to communicate and then say, I am sorry. You got to forgive me. Like Starlight, I didn't graduate. I got out of school in 6th, 7th grade level, depending on, what subject. So I, wasn't getting taught what everybody else was getting taught. So it would be easily for me to goof up on something as far as, like talking and communicating with somebody because of my background. And I know when I was younger, I would get so frustrated by writing assignments where, I wanted to do really good. I loved to write, so there was many times I would be writing and then bam, I just messed up all over on the writing assignment, and I would get really upset with myself and crinkle up that paper and, so, and so I went through that so many times. Like I was really in the writing flow, and I loved to cursive write and stuff like that, but not everything went out the way I wanted to, and I did get frustrated as a child growing up. So just like with people that we are in communication with, it's so important. Don't be so prideful that you're like, that's no problem. Like you might think it was no problem, but you don't know how the other person is taking what you said. If it didn't come out right and it wasn't clear enough, maybe you forgot some parts that you should have added into the writing or in the conversation, and they might have not picked it up because at the time they might have a lot of stuff going on, and they just, the nervousness and the uncomfortableness of talking to somebody, especially about personal problems, or when you're dealing with relationships, trying to make it stronger, not to throw bombs in it and make a big mess, So I really just hope that you get a lot of help. It's so important to, when we're not communicating the right way, is to apologize to those people and let them know is that, you know what, I am sorry. That's not how I really wanted to word it. I should have took more time. I should have reread what I wrote, and not be so quick to push the send button, so it can really get people upset if you are not clear, and that goes for communication. If you talk to somebody and you realize that didn't go well, you always have another time, but as soon as possible is the best way to do that. And like texting, same thing is like, whoops, we all get those times, like, because if you got a lot going on. So anyway, I love you. This is Starlight. I really hope you have a great day. You could give this video a thumbs up. Plus, you could subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can leave me a message down below, beep, beep, beep. Plus, don't forget, you can share my videos with your family, your friends. Let me see, a coyote and a lion. Plus, you can check out my playlist, and you can follow me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you all. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight, love, light, and